Ford CEO Jim Farley just addressed the turbulent landscape of electric vehicles and the critical challenges facing his company. Farley acknowledges that EV prices have collapsed to match those of internal combustion engine vehicles, and that Ford must navigate this new reality in order to survive, especially against the inevitable onslaught of Chinese automakers. Highlighting Ford's current predicament, Farley admits that their strategy to electrify iconic brands like the Mustang and F-150 has not yielded great EVs. In response, Ford has created a secret team led by a former Tesla engineer to develop a new generation of EVs from the ground up, aiming to unveil a competitive $30,000 model. But adding to Ford's challenges, Elon Musk recently acknowledged that the Cybertruck has reportedly surpassed F-150 Lightning sales in the United States to become the best-selling electric pickup truck in the country. If true, it only took Tesla just 2 full quarters of production to get there, as the ramp-up accelerates. This poses a significant risk for Ford, which relies heavily on the F-150 series for its profits. Jim Farley has suddenly realized the critical importance of EVs for Ford's future, candidly stating that if Ford doesn't turn things around, the company may not make it. According to Elon Musk, it's incredibly difficult to survive as a car company. Ford and Tesla are the only 2 American automakers to have never gone bankrupt. While there are new electric vehicle startups in the US, many of whom are too young to have gone bankrupt, a lot of names have filed for bankruptcy nonetheless. Lordstown Motors and Fisker, companies like Nikola are barely afloat. Even though Rivian has never gone bankrupt, it has yet to turn a profit, which shows there's still a lack of sustainability. The large entrenched automakers have some advantages in an existing consumer base which purchases parts and services even long after the vehicles have been sold. However, despite that, Elon Musk has been predicting for over half a decade that even Ford may not survive, and he reiterated his concerns more recently when Ford was negotiating with their unions. Yet Ford seems to be doing just fine. Revenue and profits have been chugging along, and Elon Musk's predictions haven't materialized. But now Ford's own CEO Jim Farley seems to have gotten the dire message. Lately his tune has changed, and he appears to be realizing the gravity of the situation in electric vehicles and what's coming. In a recent interview, Farley was more open and honest than ever before, and even displaying some frustration with consumers. Jim Farley says that Ford is tired of EV politics and it's time to reflect on what it's like to drive an EV, not for saving the planet, but for everything else. While he says Ford is the second largest electric vehicle maker in the US, potentially depending on how you count it, sales have been lackluster with F-150 Lightnings sitting on dealer lots and people canceling their orders for Ford's EVs. While Ford is number 3 in hybrids, which have been helping the company recently as hybrid sales have gone up 40% this year, and Ford now makes more money on hybrids than even on gas cars, he appears to be very surprised with this consumer behavior. Jim Farley makes a big statement on EVs, emphasizing the experience of driving past a gas station, of effortless acceleration on the highway, or passing someone, or decelerating without using the brakes with one pedal driving. Even Elon Musk reposted Farley's excitement of driving electric vehicles. Yet the Ford CEO is still puzzled, as EV prices have collapsed and are now basically the same as internal combustion engine car prices, and yet his sales haven't picked up. Then he says something absolutely shocking. If we don't make this EV transition, Ford's not going to make it. That's how important it is for our country. Wow, he really needs this to succeed, and this is the most candid we've seen Jim Farley. Now, the vehicle market is very price sensitive, and Tesla has been putting pressure on all of its competitors by lowering prices in order to keep demand up for their own vehicles. Consumers definitely prioritize economic impact of buying a car over the environmental impact. It seems to be a misnomer that Jim Farley is saying consumers are stuck on the environmental aspect. Tesla is a formidable competitor in the EV space, largely because Elon Musk has been pushing the boundaries of technology and software, which is very evident when you look at the refinement, efficiency, and ease of use of Tesla vehicles. The Cybertruck just takes this to the next level, with a bulletproof body, armor glass windows, the automated vault, and things like steer-by-wire and four-wheel steering. Even the internal 48-volt system, the first of its kind, allows Tesla to increase efficiency and reduce weight, leading to better performance of the vehicle at a lower price point. This directly impacts the consumer experience. Strangely, Jim Farley admits that by taking an existing ICE vehicle and putting an electric motor into it, you get a mediocre EV. But that's exactly what Ford has done. This may be why the company's sales are struggling. Interestingly, Jim Farley repeats multiple times during the interview that Elon Musk deserves a lot of credit for what he's done for the EV market. Jim Farley even reiterates terms like gigacastings and making radical changes as an OEM to get to a profitable EV. But can he execute? The Tesla Cybertruck spells big trouble for Ford. In the second quarter of the year, it reportedly was estimated to surpass F-150 Lightning sales for the first time, quietly becoming the #1 electric pickup in the US after just 8 months of production. Ford's F-150 Lightning has had a 2-year lead and sold just under 8,000 units in the second quarter of 2024. Cybertruck Q2 delivery numbers are not known directly, as Tesla doesn't break this out from its other models segment, which also includes Model S, X, and the Semi. The quarterly sales are estimated based on the difference of 2 recalls, one in April affecting 3,000 Cybertrucks and one in June affecting 11,000, suggesting that there were over 8,000 Cybertrucks produced in just a portion of the quarter. This is still based on production rather than deliveries, and we know that Tesla produced roughly 2,700 more other models that it delivered in the quarter. Although Elon Musk and the official Cybertruck account on X have acknowledged these posts and haven't refuted them, suggesting that the Cybertruck may indeed be #1. Nevertheless, the Cybertruck could start putting even more pressure on Ford's Lightning business. Tesla is busy selling the Foundation Series Cybertrucks right now, which are the most expensive and lucrative ones for the company. This has always been Tesla's strategy, to sell the highest-end vehicles first, as if you're looking at it as a standalone business. They provide the capital to ramp up in order to begin lowering price on more affordable models. Elon Musk says that Tesla is almost through the Foundation Series models, which means the next phase will be a roughly $20,000 drop in price from $100,000 to $80,000, opening up a wider market of Cybertruck buyers beyond the early adopters. This should be very worrisome for Ford's F-150 lineup. Jim Farley also recognizes that China's EVs will also inevitably arrive in the US market. It's only a matter of time, he says. Any new tariffs just buy Ford and other US OEMs a bit of time, because he believes that the clock is ticking, and Ford has perhaps 5 years or less before China's electric vehicles begin to threaten the US market. He knows that Chinese EVs will come through Mexico into the US, bypassing most tariffs, as 1 in 4 cars sold in Mexico are already made in China today. And so that's another reason why Farley is trying to change consumer sentiment on EVs in the United States before it's too late. Ford's data shows that the average American takes less than 4 trips per year that are over 150 miles. And so he says 95% of Americans would have no problem living with an EV. Farley still believes in the choice of vehicle type, and when asked if he thinks that it's misguided to focus on a total EV model, he says yes, but it's equally misguided to say that EVs are the wrong solution. Well, while the United States debates this, China doesn't seem to care and isn't wasting any time. 70% of the world's EVs are made in China. They've set up robust supply chains, batteries, graphite, nickel, lithium. It's all processed in China, which makes it very difficult for Ford to diversify, although Farley does once again give credit to Elon Musk's Tesla for building a new lithium refinery in Texas. But even of the 1,500 semiconductor chips inside the average Ford vehicle, more and more, they're being made and manufactured in China, and he calls on the US to get serious on mining materials and processing them. Jim Farley also calls out the privacy rules, especially when it comes to autonomous driving software. There are rules in China, but none in the US. New software needs to go through China's Defense Department to get autonomous vehicles approved in China. Elon was just there, he says. But what kind of approval should Chinese OEMs' self-driving systems be put through in the United States? He also has an interesting take on autonomy, as Ford has moved priority to hands-free highway driving, which is where the real time-saving miles are valuable to consumers, he believes. This might actually be a great decision by Ford, to focus on something easier that adds a lot of value, especially if they know they can't compete directly with Tesla's FSD. Who knows, they may become a partner in the future. Jim Farley, however, later says that full autonomy is very important for fleet ownership. You make better use of the battery and then it can be recycled, which avoids mining the materials again. Interestingly, these are things Elon Musk has talked about in the past, but Farley is seeing it too. A bit strange though that Farley calls out this solution since Ford isn't even working on it, Tesla is. Now things may be looking dire for Ford, but all hope is not lost yet. Jim Farley has created a Skunk Works team a few years ago with Alan Clark, who he says was chief engineer of Model Y and Model 3 at Tesla. Farley says his badge doesn't even work in this area of the company, essentially meaning that he lets them do their thing. This is a great idea. It's essentially creating a startup within Ford, which is typically the right thing to do in order to compete with disruptive technology, when it's too difficult to make a massive culture change at the rest of the company. Plus they get the backing and financing from Ford, which gives a much higher probability of success versus a standalone startup that can easily teeter into bankruptcy with no backup. While Farley needs permission to see what's happening in this new division, he has seen the results and appears to be extremely pleased, saying he's going to bet the company on them. This is a bold move and a fairly risky bet, but it's what Ford may need in order to reinvent the company and reinvigorate the vehicle lineup. Ford is shooting for a $30,000 car in 2.5 years' time, and to be profitable on the vehicle. It will be a small car since he mentions Tesla's robotaxi as a competitor and Chinese players like BYD and other state-owned companies. This too is interesting, as Ford has essentially left the small vehicle market for others after pulling out all small vehicle models except for the Mustang, and Ford had many of them, the Taurus, Focus, Fiesta. They were fairly popular by name, but they didn't make money. But the gas car market may be in a sense the opposite of the EV market, where smaller vehicles have smaller batteries and should be easier to achieve profitability with. That's certainly what Ford is betting on, but as Jim Farley said, time is ticking, and Ford needs new EV models quickly to remain relevant. So do you think Ford can effectively compete against Tesla and Chinese automakers in a rapidly evolving EV market? And will Ford's strategy of developing a $30,000 EV be enough to secure the company's future? Don't forget to watch my recent SpaceX video on Starlink's V2 mini satellite and the new mini receiver dish in the description below. Please hit the like button and subscribe, we would really appreciate that. And a huge shout out to all of our patrons that help to support our channel. Your support helps us to continue to make great content. Thank you guys so much for watching.